Hey guys, Overlord Prime here, back with a replay review from one of my viewers. This was submitted by a Yui Kwang Huge, and he's playing the AMD 178B, which is the tier 6 French wheeled light. And his big question for this match was this a winnable game? So, let's see. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do a matchup read. This is something you're going to want to do, pretty much. It's a skill you're going to have to develop eventually, and you're going to be looking at the tanks in the games, and you're going to be able to determine what flanks are going to be stable and what flanks are going to collapse. Right? It's a quick read. It's really good for a light tank player to develop this skill, because it lets you know what flanks you want to be playing if one side is not feasible. So looking at the two lineups, you're going to see that we have a Mutant M6, a Renegade, which are going to be two heavies, matched up against their Patriot and T-34. So I don't need to read any more than this. Pretty much when you see this type of matchup, you see that the enemy has very strong hold down, but we have very, very strong, bulky frontliners. But in a map like this, the 1-2 line where heavies typically go is going to be dominated by hold down positions. So already we know that our heavies are going to be fighting an uphill battle. They're going to be fighting two hold down monsters, and they don't necessarily have the strongest turrets. Below that, we have a Barask and T-34-3 against their Progetto and Type 59. This has a slight edge towards the enemy. Type 59 is better for longer, slower engagements because of its higher rate of fire, DPM, and overall handling compared to a -3. Our Barask is a burst, which means he's very good at supporting, but he's bad at holding the line, whereas their Progetto can either play support or front, right? So that's already a huge advantage to the enemy team because of their tier 8s. So what's going to happen is we know our 1-2 line is in a bad position, and we know that our forest, where mediums and sometimes heavies like to go, are also not going to be in a good position should the heavy decide to go there, or if we're going to have an even head-to-head medium matchup there. Below tier 8, we don't really worry too much. You get general feels of what lineups are going to be more advantageous and more stronger for one side or the other. We have a Comet T20, they have double T20. It's a little stronger on their side. The Comet's not that great because the meta has become more of a single shot, right? High damage rather than DPM. We have a Scorpion, which is a sniping TD. On this spawn, the Scorpion's not great, so I wouldn't really consider this a good thing. They have a T25/2, which can play as a medium on this matchup, which is very strong. Artie, we don't care. KV2 versus OI, that's going to be a washout. That's just going to be pretty much even on both sides. But what's important is the tier 6s, because this is the stuff that you're going to be able to pick off. And it's going to be an E2, which is good, and two 85s, which are really, really good tech tree tanks. But they're going to be matched up against a double Cromwell platoon. And Cromwells on their own aren't that great, but when they're in a platoon, it's pretty threatening because they can coordinate and do a lot of crazy plays, which means that their bottom tier threats are actually much more threatening than your own. Especially because double Cromwells will easily outtrade an 85 or E2 because the platoon you have on your side doesn't really have the flexibility or the speed to keep together, whereas theirs can move as a group and a pack, which is threatening. They have a Skoda T25, which is a very solid autoloader, and a Hellcat versus your Achilles. Hellcat, of course, wins in this matchup because higher damage gun, and it's going to be sniping on a sniping favored side. For the light tanks, you're going to be mirror matchup. So the good thing we know about this is you're a light tank on this match, and you're in a mirror matchup, and there's no higher tier lights. So the first thing you want to do is know where to scout. We know the 1-2 is going to collapse, so the proper move is going to be either a 6-line aggro scout, where you just do a loop on their side and run all the way back up, or if you want to feel very risky, go 7-line, get into their bush line, and make sure to counter their light if he's there, and then sit in a static position. So the equipment setup you want to have on this is going to be optics, vents, and low noise exhaust. You want to be pushing somewhere above 40% camo, and the reason is there's a cheeky play you can make on the forest, and let's see what you do. So again, if it were me playing this, I would definitely go 7-line. If I were to look at this matchup and tell you if it's going to be winnable or not, this is winnable, but it's favored towards the enemy side. Of course, this assumes that I don't see stats, which I don't. Okay, so it looks like you are aiming at forest. If you're gonna scout forest, I would actually recommend you pinging the map, so your enemy, well, you know where the enemy is gonna be, and your team knows where they're gonna be for free damage. You're going for an aggressive scout. It looks like you're going towards the 7-8 line rather than the 6, which is actually good. But you're not pinging any positions, so it's not good because your team doesn't know where to pre-aim. So this is huge. This is probably one of the biggest things you can read right now. You got lucky here. You see that the enemy light and their only scout is on the other side of the map. It's very uncommon for the enemy to be playing as an aggressive F7, F8 position, right? So this means you have complete control of the forest. All you have to do is go to their side, knock down a tree if you want to be aggressive, or you can slowly creep. The biggest threat you have to worry about is something I'm going to point out in just a moment. There's no need to be playing this high ground. I really don't recommend this. You see that the light tank's here. So what you want to do is you want to be driving low down here. You're the faster tank. There's really no tanks on their side that can really keep up with you except crazy Cromwells that are going to be YOLOing into you. Outside of that, they don't really have the speed to contest your tank. So it's relatively safe for you to be a little aggressive, but also go very fast down here. You don't want to risk giving up your position because they give up theirs. You want to keep your advantage here. You're knocking down all these trees in a position where speed pretty much matters and you're not really slowing down. So if you're going to be knocking down trees anyways, you want to be doing it as late as possible. Bleeding speed early on here means not only are you playing it too safe, but you're also crippling your ability to get to a strong position on this side quickly. And this is dangerous because what I just mentioned before is a counter position is right here. If they send a medium tank here or a medium tank right here, like one of these two buildings corners, they can spot this. So your play is to play low, right? Not have your entire side exposed above the ridge like this, right? And drive up out. And you're going to be using the bushes here or knocking down a tree. But if you stay on the high ground here on the right side, which you are right now, you risk getting exposed by a tank right here, right? If a Cromwell or a T20 is right there, you've pretty much gotten spotted, you've given up your advantage. So nobody's spotted here. What you can do is, if you don't think you're going to find a good bush or get into a good bush, there's actually one right here. I don't think you saw this. You can just passive in that, and it lets you spot through a lane here, let you spot the entire upper lane here. You don't have the greatest view range to spot the red line, but that's okay because you can also spot this entire area over here. But if you're too worried about that and you want a little more redundancy, you can knock down this gigantic tree that's quite literally right here, this big one right here. You want to stop about now. There's no reason for you to continue. You have an advantage. So what you do is you don't knock down the tree. I don't know if you missed it or if this was intentional, but knocking down this tree gives you full camo and you can just straight up sit right here, full camoed, and then like back up into the bushes if they start blind firing it, right? You could do that. But what you've done here is you've driven into the open with no cover. You're definitely spotted. So the Cromwell actually plays the counter position I just talked about. So you did play very risky. The Patriot is right there, T25 is right there. The way you want to escape is you want to escape towards this side. Right now, you know the Cromwell's here, so if you drive back towards the forest, you're going to expose yourself to the Cromwell, to the Patriot shots, although he probably is going to keep going, but the Skoda T25 has free reign on shots here. He has no opposition. He's not getting shot. So this threat and this threat, you want to be driving this way, because if you drive that way, you're going to, one, go below a slight ridge, which makes the shot a little harder for the 25, and the Cromwell is going to have no shots unless you overexpose it. So you're driving back towards the 25, you're driving back in front of a Cromwell. Cromwell just missed you. You took 2 shots. Realistically, you shouldn't have taken any damage here. You wasted too much time early game, and you messed up on the camo passive position that you could have been using. So you switch to HE rounds, you're going to go for the enemy light that's in the middle doing nothing. That's actually a good call. It's a little risky because one, you're going blind against the 2 line, but generally most players on the 2 line will be playing the outside. T20 is a bit threatening, but he's on top of a ridge. He's probably going to back off pretty soon because he's lit. You're pretty much safe to engage this. The big threat's going to be any TDs that are going to be up here. So one play you can make is you can go straight up into the houses here or run into this wall right here and just trade with this tank and hope the T20 does not stay up there. So he just shoots, you're loading HE, you're going to shoot him. So you don't want to be ramming here. He's dead. If he's going to shoot you or if he's going to ram you, it doesn't matter. You're going to take at least one shot here. Ramming just means you lose HP, and it's not good. You're better off just backing out or driving around him. And you lost 100 HP. So he did 110 to you, you ran for 90, you lost 200 HP in an engagement where you shouldn't have lost more than 100. And you got lucky with the T-34 missing. So in that situation, you want to be keeping your momentum. You want to be driving around him or just stopping and backing up. Ramming is not great. It is good for an emergency reverse because it puts your speed at 0 and you can immediately begin reversing. But if you're taking damage for it in this light tank, it's not good. Especially because you've lost 400 HP when you should have only lost realistically 100. Your team is going to win the 0 line. It's going to be a little tricky. They're not really doing a great job at holding it. You've lost the 1-2 line. They're pushing the A line now. You're going to lose your artillery. You're playing a passive scout position right here. This is pretty good. One big risk though is when you play a passive scout right here. Either remember that if they go A line, they're eventually going to get hold down here, maybe even hold down here. And one of their plays is just to run straight at your allies here. All right. Realistically, a safe play is to keep going this way, but sometimes players will just charge you. So be aware of that. Being a scout right now is pretty solid. You can get a few free shots of damage here. There's no really real reason to be completely passive, right? You have a Barask in the middle. There's a lot of foliage cover you can be using to get free damage. One guy in the cap, that's fine. That was the T-20 that just drove across. Okay, you're going to be a little more passive in a bush. That's actually good. You're driving away into a very, very pointless position. This is way too passive. You've basically put yourself really, really defensive. You're not going to light them if they're there, because if you look at sniper mode, there's a tree, so you can't really see that. You're going to see them here, but you have a Barask spotting in front of you, so you're doing redundant scouting because one, you have less spotting range, and two, I mean, there's a Barask right there, right? You could be doing damage here. Realistically, a stronger position would be if you're in the Barask spot and the Barask on your team snipes. So this is the issue that we have here. You're not doing damage and you're not really spotting. Now you are against a Progetto and the T-20 that's moving forward. Don't have to worry about cap. So this is a very, very passive play. There's no need to be continuously spotting this guy. There's no need for you to really be here right now. You can actually be moving around. The T-20 is not going to push through, and if he does, he'll be taking damage. But right now, now that you just lost Artie, this is sort of the only control you have. So while before it would have been good to move and rotate to get damage, it's a smart move right now to not move. You don't have to worry about cap. The one big threat though that's concerning is you don't have artillery anymore. They are very good at stopping and, you know, punishing a camp. So not having artillery here is pretty big. Nice, you finish him off. You might get lit for that. Yep. So right now you know that there's a T-20 on your cap and there's a T-25/2. that's threatening you, you can go along the A line to reset cap, or you can rotate middle and shoot those heavies and punish them, because OI and T-34 are isolated. Going for cap is a smart move here, because right now they are going to try pressuring you. You have 50 seconds, so the assumption if you go south is that he's going to get off cap, but if he's not, this is the correct play. You see a shot on the side of a T-25/2 on your left, you should be going for that. Drive up and stop right here. You should be camoed. The T-20 gets off cap, you should be running away once this guy's killed. You do not drive forward. You see that the enemy's being aggressive. They're getting a concave on you, so the T-20's play is to, if he's going to continue the aggression, he's going to go up to A6 and then A7, so he will be right in front of you. So you do not want to be doing that. All you know is he's off cap. There's no need to pressure yourself by going for this damage here or going for the spots, because your team is more pressured by the T-34. Right now, escaping is the right move, especially because you can get one-shotted here. T-20's right there. No need to hold this position. Run away immediately. He's charging straight at A7. He's not going to stop. He knows where all of your allies are, and it's really risky to be shooting and engaging here because you're caught in the open. You're using the hill very well. You're baiting him out towards your allies, and then you drive in front of him again. If you kept backing up this way, well, what ended up happening is he drives over the ridge to shoot you, and then he's perfectly exposed. But if you drive forward right here, you're going to allow him to stay hull down. So you're shooting him. Again, you shouldn't have even been in this situation. He's caught in the open. You want to be driving away from him. Nice, you just missed your shot. You're very lucky because he ended up low rolling you. Your allies, again, are a little too occupied at shooting someone else, and just see the T-20. Definitely want to pay attention to where you're driving when running away. Okay, so now your big call here is to go south or go north. Going south is a little bad because they have Cromwells and Hellcats that can support and snipe for each other. So south is going to lose. North play is the correct move here. You want to be isolating and killing that T-20. You want to be cutting off his escape by going up the 7 or 6 line, making sure he can't drive back towards safety. You want to trap him here. T-34-3 is going in. That Renegade just died for the T-20. That's really bad. That was actually one of the few tanks that could turn this game around for you. The problem with being one-shot right now is you're going to have to deal with double Cromwells and a Hellcat at the end game. So you're going very wide towards A7, A8. This is actually smart. You're going to be using bushes. He's shown that he is not going to escape, which means you can be very aggressive and spot and shoot him and bait him towards your T-34. I guess you're -3. You have free reign to shoot him right now. There's no need to hold your shots. Nice. We want to preserve as much HP on your -3 right now. Now, generally, at this end game, I would consider this a defeat because you don't have enough HP. With their matchup right now, looking at their comp, double Cromwell and Hellcat, it's very hard to break this. You have a KV-2 on the south. He's effectively useless. He's not going to do anything. So this is a pretty bad situation because on top of the 2 tanks that can slow play or aggro, they also have artillery. So slow play is in their favor, and aggressive play is in their favor because a -3 doesn't have DPM and you're one shot. So this is essentially a lose-lose no matter how you play this out. It'll be even worse if we find out that 2 Cromwells on their team are full HP. Artillery shooting at the south, which means the KV2 spotted and he's gonna die. You don't have radio range, so you don't know where he is, but he's about to be killed. Especially if artillery's already shooting at him, which means he's spotted. So Cromwells look like they aggroed the south. You can play the south side of the forest here and be passive, just spotting if the Cromwells are going to be pushing this side. -3 ends up getting RD'd. You didn't really do much by going into that spot, not much spotting there. You want to be sticking next to the -3 and acting as somewhat of a clearing device, right? You want to be going a little in front of him, a little to the side, making sure you screen. You have pretty good camo, and your view range may not be great, but the camo and view range combination means you're able to at least screen for quite a bit. You can break down this house, by the way. You do not have to go for shots like those by aiming at them. You can actually shoot that down. Especially because you're using the small gun with it, which has a 2-second reload. So artillery looks like he's a good player. He's going to be punishing that -3. This is pretty much a defeat. And what determines this is how much health the Cromwells have left. Okay, so looks like you're being very aggressive here. This is actually a little risky, but Cromwells have bad gun handling unless they're sitting still sniping. So you're not lit so far, which means they're in no aggressive position. They're not here spotting you, right? They're not going to be here. They're not going to be out here, which means that they're the second line, which means they can be back here and they can be back here. So what you want to do is, if you know that they're that far back, you can be very aggressive and drive over this ridge on this side, driving towards here. Or if you want to escape, drive this way and then drive on your hill back out. What you don't want to do in this situation is you don't want to commit. We do not want to go to the 1 line because there's a possibility of a Cromwell being in G1, which is very strong. And we don't want to commit down the 4 line towards G4 because if a Cromwell's up there, they can jump over and kill you. So don't overcommit to G1, F1, and don't overcommit to G4. You want to be jumping this ridge here. You want to be playing the top of the ridge. You actually want to be lit because the quicker you're lit and the sooner you're lit, the quicker you can react and get away because you're keeping distance between yourself and the enemy's guns. Cromwells don't really do well at hitting moving targets, so you want to keep as much distance between yourself and them, either by spotting them or them spotting you. Staying low here is very bad because you may overcommit to a bad position. Okay, so you're instead climbing over that, you're climbing over this. Okay, never mind. You're getting absolutely no information for yourself. That's what I call a bad play. You got here safely, and the big thing about going here safely, and in fact driving in this road safely, is there's nothing here. You've cleared up the defensive G1 line. But the problem with going G1 is you can't commit to it because upon crossing this, if there's a tank right here, you're going to be spotted, and you can't really leave G1 when they have that corner. So the play here is, you know this is empty, you're not lit, you want to be driving this ridge and be running this way and going back towards your side. So you would probably make a play like climbing over this, driving here, climbing over this, and driving back. Again, committing to F1 is not ideal. They're in the exact position I called. It's not good for you right now. You're in a very bad spot. Remember, you're one shot. You do not want to stay here because eventually they will rotate someone down 1 line and kill you. So you are escaping and you're driving forward. You want to escape at full speed. You just saw Cromwell trying to rotate towards your side. He will be pushing you. Slow playing this is not good because it gives them time to get close to you. And again, you want to be playing the distance game. You are getting quite lucky here. You're getting shots. Remember, it's a platoon of Cromwells and the arty is in 1 line. This is sort of why you didn't want to be here. You want to be keeping distance at this point. If you know they're going to be fighting you, you want to be on like D3, make it difficult for moving Cromwells to shoot you. the dash 3 is going to be kited. The Cromwell's moving full speed. You have better on the move accuracy and better speed than a Cromwell, so you can actually shoot him and he's not going to reliably hit you on the move. This is where you want that HP you lost at the beginning. You could put a tree between yourself and that Cromwell and shoot. So the question right now we have to ask is, where's that other Cromwell? This Cromwell is going to be playing games. He's going to be running here, probably running towards this ridge straight at you. So you want to be rotating now towards the other dash 3. The other Cromwell is either coming up from somewhere in the city, he's either going one line, or he's going from the forest. My guess is he's forest side because it's been quite a while since he's spotted, so we'll see. But a one line play from a Cromwell is possible if they did a very slow and staggered rotation. So there's a Cromwell on one line. Artillery just hit your dash 3. This is pretty much game over. And you're dead. Okay, so the dash 3 is all that's left, and he's going to die in just a sec. So, was this a winnable game? Yes. There were a few too many mistakes that you made that put yourself at unnecessary risk, and effectively did throw a lot of your health. Out of your 640 health pool, you threw 400 of it away, 2 to the Skoda, and 1 to the Ram, and 1 from a T20 shot, which you could have completely avoided if you just ran away full speed. You have to remember, one of the benefits of this tank is it runs away backwards as quick as it does forward, so you don't want to be doing the whole 3-point turn because it's a waste of momentum, right? When that Cromwell pushed up the one line, it's too risky. When the T20 pushed you, you backed off and then you stopped after shooting him, so he knew you were there. So you did too many plays that had you overcommit to very, very bad positions. But if you had some HP, you could have worked together well with this dash 3, and you could have easily punished their Cromwells. Probably even taken one of them out and badly hurting the other one. Because with the amount of HP you lost, you could have easily taken 3, maybe 4 Cromwell shots. So, was it winnable? Yes. And the biggest thing is, if you wanted to, you could have even played the very, very cheeky game. Let the Cromwells go after your dash 3, drive through the opening, go for their artillery, and if they try capping out, you outspot them, and you can blind fire with your, huge amount of rounds and high rate of fire. And you're much faster than a Cromwell in terms of acceleration, so you can easily run circles around them. All you need is HP, and Cromwells can't really deal with you because their on the move shooting is really bad, so they would have to have 1 spotter and 1 sniper, which doesn't work in their favor. So there was a lot of things you could have done at the end had you had HP. So as for whether or not this is winnable, definitely winnable, but this would definitely be put in one of the harder carry games in my book. This would be one of those games where it's winnable, but requires a huge amount of game-making plays, right? And not game-throwing plays that I saw here. But pretty good replay. I think you did a lot of good things right. You had the good mindset to go to the 7 line, which is very smart. The end game rotations, though, were very problematic, and a lot of them were just big throws in terms of information gathering or HP loss. Anyways, thanks for the submission. I see you guys around, and you guys will probably be seeing more of these replay reviews in the future. Have a good one, and GG.